Hi, this is Congressman Reschenthaler, and you're listening to Get Going with Guy, a conservative guide to cutting through the propaganda of the woke left and the mainstream media, a podcast where hypocrisy has no home. All right, guys, you know the drill. Bottom line up front. Here's today's bluff. We've got Madison Cawthorn here with us live. Madison, you're the first guest we've had on the podcast. I'm honored that you would join us, so thanks for being here.
It's an honor, Guy. I'm telling you, getting to learn under you the way that you work the whole system up here, it's incredible. So I'm glad I get to be here, brother.
Well, thanks, Madison. I appreciate it. And just so you know, Zach Galifianakis, he has Between Two Ferns. We don't have ferns, but we are sitting on either side of a banana tree. But Madison, so in this podcast, we get right in, we get right out. So I'm just going to start firing some questions at you.
Let's go.
First off, people might not know this, but you are the youngest member of Congress. I mean, you got elected before you were even at the age required by the Constitution. Of course, you turned 25, but what's it like being young and having this position?
Well, one, I'll tell you, I'm very thankful that God put my birthday right before I needed to slide into home base so that I could legally be in this position. But it's the greatest honor in the world. But I do feel a weight of responsibility because I'm 1995 was the very first year of Generation Z. And so I feel a weight that, there's a lot of people that are looking, saying, oh, what is the next generation of conservatism going to look like? Because when we all look, what's the next generation of liberalism going to look like? I mean, who comes to mind? AOC. And so it's this idea that I want to make our ideas something that is palpable and intangible and something that people can believe in, rather than somebody who wants to be here and the people who've come before me say, oh, he's trying to destroy everything we've ever built.
Well, how do we do that? How do we get Generation Z under our tent? And by the way, I think we're the Big Tent party. And I think for Gen Z, they're going to look at us as the party that is for freedom. And we are now, I also say, we're now the counterculture. The liberals are the culture. They're the mainstream.
They are.
So if Gen Z is looking to rebel, as most younger generations are, they'll rebel by becoming more conservative, by becoming more libertarian. Do you have any thoughts on that and strategies for how we get younger members under our tent?
I do. So number one, I think you're absolutely correct. When these people feel like, they're raising their fists in the air, they've got their black masks on and Antifa or whatever the notion is, and they think that they're rebelling to be a liberal. I mean, every single multinational corporation, all of our institutions, everything celebrates everything that you ever do. You are a sheep. You're being led and you're being used as a pawn. And so I think you're absolutely right that if you want to be a radical, if you want to be someone who believes in radical freedom and dangerous freedom, then you should be a conservative. And so I think the number one way we try and reach my generation is, and I had one of my interns actually said this the other day, it's like if you're trying to speak to somebody who speaks French, you can't speak English to them. They just won't understand it. And so I think it's trying to take these time-tested conservative principles, but be able to explain them and iterate them in a way that my generation understands. And the number one way we do that is I think that we point out that the Democrats are the ones who want to, I mean, you think about your parents taking away your phone when you were a kid. I mean, that's awful. They're limiting everything you can do. But that's basically what the Democrats want to do. I mean, you think about using, Google or whatever search engine they use in these countries, in Syria, in Iran, in China, North Korea. They limit everything you can see. They tell you what you can really believe, what you can think. They hold you liable for whatever you type into your computer trying to just search something just to have information. And I believe that in America, we are a free nation to where you are allowed to do whatever you want because it's your nation. You have your own freedom. You are the royalty in this nation. Your home is your kingdom. And we shouldn't have decrees coming from Washington, D.C. And so I think if we explain to my generation that we are the freedom party, that'll win us hearts and minds forever.
Madison, well said. Now, I just want to ask you this. Conversely, we've got to work to get Gen Z under our tent, but just what you were saying, being the party of freedom. But conversely, what policies and what are the Democrats doing that's turning off Gen Z? What are they doing that's pushing them toward us?
Oh, well, I think it's the number one thing I was talking about. It's this whole idea of cancel culture. And I'll tell you, I don't actually like the term cancel culture. I think that it is a movement towards authoritarian rule, where people who are very cowardly just want to be told what to do and what to believe, and they almost get addicted to the outrage culture. And so they're just waiting for the next thing to be outraged about, whatever the TV tells them to be so upset about, that they've never heard about before in their entire life. And they say, oh, well, that's the most important issue in the world. And so I think a lot of people are starting to realize, wow, this is just complete virtue signaling. We're not actually doing anything to make anybody better. And right now, I was starting to see people on both sides of the aisle starting to get canceled by this outrage mob. You're starting to realize these people have no leadership. These people have absolutely no discipline. These people will go after whoever they want because it's just they do whatever feels good. And so I think if we can convince people that they need to start voting for what actually does good instead of what feels good, then it'll change everything.
Well, Madison, thanks so much for coming on again. It's an honor to have you as the first guest we've had on the podcast. So it's an honor for you to be here. It's an even greater honor to serve with you in Congress. And I'm looking forward to watching your career both here and seeing what happens as you move on with your career. You got a lot ahead of you. I'm very excited for you.
Guy, thank you so much, brother. It means the world.
Thanks, Madison. All right, that's it for today, gang. I'll see you next time. And as always, just call me Guy.